अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Nityanandam. This is Sarvaishwarya Nanda, and this is the fourth episode for this podcast series, the Enlightenment experience, or Enlightenment journey rather. And this is one of the most powerful cognitions, most powerful techniques that Swamiji gave us to the world. And it's called Be Unclutched. It's almost like Aham Brahmasmi or any other Tattvamasi, any other Mahavakya, which means that we are already enlightened and we just have to realize that. Swamiji describes the great truth that each thought is independent, and so it is us or the mind that is creating a painful shaft or a joyful shaft. So we have to dissociate the mind. We have to dissociate our thoughts and look them separately and not deliberately create suffering in our lives. It's a powerful technique that will solve pretty much any psychological problem there is. Nityanandam. This is Sarvaishwarya Nanda. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're on a very
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Nityanandam. This is Sarvaishwarya Nanda, and based on the Guru Shishya Parampara, which is nothing but the enlightened master giving the discourses and the students listening. I had the privilege of sitting at the feet of several masters, and I'm bringing this podcast to the world to basically highlight what are the essential elements of living a moksha-centric life, which means leading a life which is oriented towards our enlightenment or our ultimate purpose in life. So towards that end, the first episode, which comes to you today, is on the science of manifestation. And isn't it a coincidence that whatever we want to manifest, we need to have a proper guidance. And from the scriptures, what is available, it's called the science, and describes clearly the details about manifestation. And again, this is Nanda. We hope you like this podcast.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something
very specific mission. We're going to try and decode a concept that honestly could fundamentally change how you interact with your own mind.
That's right. We're diving deep into the sources on this idea of unclutching.
And this isn't just, another piece of self-help jargon.
No, not at all. When you really analyze the root causes of psychological suffering, the things that keep us stuck, you realize the core issue is how we connect things, how we connect disparate bits of information.
So unclutching is the instruction manual for reversing that.
Exactly. It's the tactical guide.
We have a central phrase for this deep dive, an anchor point. It's be unclutched. The sources even call it a modern-day Mahavakya.
Which is a huge statement. A Mahavakya traditionally is like an ultimate truth from the Vedas. Think I'm Brahmasmi, I am the absolute.
Right, a massive cosmic statement. But you can't really act on that, can you?
Exactly. It tells you who you are at your peak, but it doesn't tell you how to get there on a Monday morning when you've spilled coffee on your shirt. Be unclutched is the practical part. It starts with the problem.
Which is how we create our own suffering.
Yes, by clutching or welding our thoughts together. So to understand the solution, we have to first look at the problem. We have to look at the illogical flow of the mind.
Okay, let's unpack that, this mental architecture. If you were to map out your thoughts, it's not a clean river, it's chaos.
Complete chaos. The sources say to think of them as just objects, different shapes, different sizes, different emotional weights.
So one thought is this huge block of guilt from 10 years ago.
And the very next one is a tiny fleeting memory of a good meal you had, and then boom, instantly, you're anxious about an email you have to send tomorrow.
And here's the discovery, right? The really shocking part.
This is it. If you actually observe this flow, just dispassionately, you realize your thoughts are just a bunch of unconnected, independent, illogical, unclutched thoughts.
They have no causal relationship.
None. No thought is logically responsible for the one that comes after it.
But we create a story. We create a narrative to make it make sense.
We have to. We assume because thought A led to thought B, there's a chain. But look at the classic example from the sources.
The one with the dog.
Yes. You're walking down the street, you see a strange dog. That thought triggers a memory of your childhood dog.
Okay. That seems logical enough.
But then maybe that memory triggers a feeling of fear, which suddenly reminds you of a high school teacher who used to shout at you.
Okay, the action's getting weaker.
And then that teacher reminds you of the town they lived in. And suddenly you're thinking about the price of real estate there. Where's the logic?
There is none. You could try to force one, I guess. Maybe the dog and the teacher both barked at you, but...
But that's a retroactive justification. It's you, after the fact, trying to make it neat. In reality, the thought of the dog and the thought about real estate are just independent bubbles.
It's the randomness that's so hard to accept. We want our minds to be tidy.
Which is why the sources propose a challenge for you, the listener. It's the 5-minute experiment.
Just set an alarm 5 minutes and write down every single thought. No editing. Don't worry about grammar.
Just pure transcription. And when you look at that page, you won't see a coherent story. You'll see a mess of non sequiturs.
And that visual proof, right there on the page, shows you the flow is independent.
And that realization is the doorway to understanding the next big illusion.
The illusion of our own constant awareness. This is where it gets a little unnerving.
It really does. So we're moving to this metaphor of the projector light.
We all believe naturally that our conscious awareness, the light in our inner world, is always on.
It feels like it's always on. But the research we reviewed says it blinks. It comes and goes. The awareness of your own existence is intermittent.
The classic example is the unconscious drive, right? We've all done this.
Oh, absolutely. Think about your commute to work. Maybe it's 30 minutes. You make hundreds of decisions, turning, signaling, braking.
All real-time operational decisions.
And then you pull into the parking lot, turn off the car, and it's only then that you sort of wake up. You realize you exist.
Wait, how did I even get here? Moment. It's like the whole 30 minutes was run by some autopilot program.
Precisely. And that's the danger of the blinking light. Because when that awareness is off, when the projector is dark, things are still happening on the screen of your life.
Decisions are being made, thoughts are flowing.
And even life-changing incidents can happen. They become part of your biography, but you weren't actually present for them.
And this leads to a really profound definition of suffering we found.
It's not just about pain. Suffering is defined as every single moment that passes in your life without you being aware of your presence. It all adds up.
So the first illusion is that we think we're always aware. But we're not a floodlight. We're more like a blinking car indicator.
A perfect analogy. And when the light happens to be on, whatever random independent thought is flowing by at that moment gets lit up. It gets validated as my reality.
And that's how we start building the walls of our own prison.
That's how we start building what the sources call shafts.
Okay, shafts. These are the psychological constructs we build where, in reality, there's nothing there.
And it starts with memory. We have to understand, we do not recall the past as it actually happened.
Which was a mix of good, bad, boring.
A total mess. Instead, we actively sculpt our memory. We recollect it only, and this is a direct quote, as you want it.
And usually we want it to be the pain shaft.
That's the default. We become these very selective archivists. We go back and gather only the data points of suffering, guilt, pain, depression.
And we string them all together. We connect them into one long, seamless timeline.
And then we make the declaration, my life is a long chain of suffering.
What's so fascinating is the psychology behind that. The ego gets a weird reward.
Oh, it does. People compete to be on top, even in misery. Nobody has suffered like me. It's a strange kind of status.
To maintain that status, you have to actively ignore all the good things that happen in between.
You have to forget them, erase them from the timeline.
Okay, but let's pause and challenge this for a second. Because when we talk about a pain shaft, are we dismissing real objective hardship? The loss of a loved one, poverty. Are you saying that's not real?
That's a critical question. And the sources are very clear. The painful incidents were 100% real. The loss was real. The hardship was real.
What?
But the shaft, the idea that the incident from 10 years ago and the one from yesterday are part of a single, continuous, necessary line of suffering, that is the construct. The suffering happened in flashes, independently. The shaft is the artificial thread we create.
The story we tell ourselves about the flashes.
Yes. And the problem is, once you believe that story, once you think your life is this long pain shaft,
You unconsciously start looking for more evidence to prove it.
exactly. You're trying to escape it, but you're also feeding it. You're fighting an enemy that you yourself created. It doesn't exist outside your own curated memory.
And you mentioned briefly the joy shaft. That happens too.
It does, but it's much rarer. People who selectively only remember the good times to maintain an illusion of constant bliss. But the pain shaft is, without a doubt, the psychological default for most.
And this whole architecture explains frankly, some wildly illogical behavior, like the divorce anecdote we found.
Right. A man wants a divorce. The immediate trigger, his wife spilled coffee.
Which sounds completely absurd.
It does. But in his mind, that tiny incident instantly connects to this massive, non-existent future fear. Today it's coffee, tomorrow it's acid.
And at the same time, he's pulling in the past. He remembers a playful scratch she gave him during a game at their wedding years ago.
He's carrying around this whole police record in his head. The coffee isn't the problem. It's just the latest piece of evidence that confirms the pain shaft he's already built about his marriage.
It's responding to the shaft, not the spill.
Exactly. And this same illogical logic, this need to define our experience, it also helps us understand addiction. Addiction is often an attempt to elongate the joy shaft. You try to reproduce the same situation, the same substance, the same person.
Knowing deep down that you're never going to get that original feeling back.
You know it intellectually, but you're unconsciously trying to reclaim a feeling that your mind has decided was the peak of your joy shaft.
This explains so many behavioral compulsions, too. Doom scrolling, constantly checking social media.
Absolutely. You're hunting for that little microdose of novelty or validation to keep the joy shaft alive, even though the overall experience is making you miserable. You're avoiding the gap.
The gap between thoughts.
That brief moment of unclutched independence. And this avoidance takes a really dark turn when we talk about what the sources call the alarm clock of negativity.
Okay, tell us about that.
If you constantly feed your mind negative or violent content, sensationalist news, toxic online arguments, that sustained attention essentially programs an alarm clock into your system.
You're telling your consciousness, wake me up when something bad happens.
Pretty much. So when a violent or deeply negative thought crashes your system, you suddenly jolt into awareness. That shock makes you feel, I exist.
The negativity gives you a fleeting sense of being present.
It does. And because awareness is the ultimate reward for the brain, you create this devastating, vicious circle. You empower negativity because it brings awareness, and that awareness reinforces the negativity.
As the source material says, if you start cherishing violence, you're already in hell.
It's a heavy statement, but there's some fascinating data that backs this up, at least thematically.
Right, the studies on collective consciousness.
Yeah, we saw research cited that suggested cities hosting major boxing competitions see their local crime rate jump by as much as 30% within a month.
Wow, and the flip side?
The flip side was that massive targeted group meditation efforts in some cities were correlated with crime rates dropping dramatically, sometimes by over 67%.
Now, we should always be critical of social research. There are a lot of variables.
Of course. But the underlying message is clear. What a collective consciousness focuses on, violence or peace, seems to have a measurable systemic impact.
It just highlights how critical these connections we make are. And it's not just psychological. This internal shaft creation It can actually interfere with the physical body's ability to heal.
This is a crucial pivot. So many people believe they're suffering from a continuous single illness. I've had 9 years of depression. I've had 20 years of knee pain.
We have to understand that these chronic issues are often perpetuated by the psychological construct.
You're saying the different bouts of depression or the knee pain over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't biochemically the same thing.
They are independent experiences, caused by independent factors, separated by time. The biology here is what's so compelling.
The body's always renewing itself.
Constantly. We know, for example, your intestine cells are completely replaced every 47 days. Brain cells are slower, but they're replaced roughly every 365 days.
So if I have a gut issue that lasts longer than 47 days, the brand new healthy cells should have fixed it.
They should have. If a disease or pain persists longer than its physical replacement cycle, the blockage isn't fundamentally physical anymore. It's the unconscious belief. It's the shaft. Wait, I need to understand the mechanism. How does the mind force a new healthy system to bring back an old disease?
It's a demand for familiarity. Your mental setup has built an identity around that pain. I am a person with chronic knee pain. It's a fixed idea of your life.
So when the healthy new cells arrive,
The inner consciousness rejects them. They're unfamiliar. They don't fit the pattern. It sends out an unconscious command. This isn't mine. Bring mine back.
it forces the body to reproduce the disease because the mind is more comfortable with the familiar identity of being sick.
That is the power of this mental setup.
That changes everything about how you'd approach a chronic issue. We're fighting the convenience of our own memory.
And that's the final synthesis on shafts. When you connect independent, illogical experiences for convenience and easy reference, just to define yourself, you create this all-consuming enemy that doesn't exist. And then you spend your whole life fighting it.
The struggle really begins because we're afraid to live with an undefined frame of mind, with that reality of chaos.
So we rush to create a fixed idea about our life, our future, even our spouse.
I saw one source say you only live with your actual spouse for about 6 months. After that, you're living with the idea you created about them.
And you stop seeing the person who is changing every single day right in front of you. We have to remember the fundamental truth here.
The gap.
The gap between every single thought. It's not a stream. It's like bubbles in a fish tank. And in that tiny silence between the bubbles, you can realize they're independent.
So the power of awareness is just staggering. You
Yeah.
can't break the pain shaft. You can't elongate the joy shaft.
Because they're not real. They're just concepts. All you can do is be aware that you are the one who connected the dots in the first place.
And clarity about the past is the goal.
It is. The sources put it so powerfully. Undigested past is a load. Digested past is a strength. If you're fighting a self-created enemy, the path to becoming unclutched starts right now.
So the final thought for you to take away is this. Think about your own history right now. What parts of it are you still carrying as an unnecessary load? What fixed ideas about yourself are you demanding your new selves bring back into existence tomorrow?
That's the path. A fantastic deep dive.
We'll see you next time.